Welcome to our Amud Yom Shir. We're following the Deer Shoe cycle, and we are in Shabbos Daf Nun Vav, really Amud Beis, but we are still in Vav Amud Aleph, still one more piece of Gemara that we have to catch up with, and we're dealing with an interesting issue of the sins of the fathers. The people mentioned in Tanach, the very choshev people, such as David HaMelech. We're going to talk today about Shlomo HaMelech and his many wives. We're going to discuss Yeshayahu and others, very, very interesting topics. So stay with us for the next hour and we will rediscover Tanakh together. Baruch Hashem, Menachem ben Akiva. So, Gufa, we are here, as we left off yesterday, in the wide lines, in Vav Amud Aleph, the fifth wide line, Gufa. Rav Omer Kibel David Lashon Hara. Rav said that David accepted Lashon Hara. In other words, David's sin wasn't only the Avera of Uriah Hachiti, which we discussed yesterday, that he sent him to die at war, but also there was an additional Avera that David accepted Lashon Hara. To make it easier for everybody, let me just introduce to you the whole story from Tanakh. And that's an interesting story that has three parts to it. It's a saga with 3 episodes. And basically the story is as follows. We know that David HaMelech had ambivalent relationship with Shaul and his family because Shaul tried to kill David, so David didn't really like Shaul. At some point he was even, in a way, happy that he died. It says somewhere else in Shas. And on the other hand, Yonasan, which was Shaul's son, was David's best friend. So David, after Yonasan was niftar, was killed at war, so David, after a while, he asked, who else is there from Yonasan's family? And they told him, yes, there is a man called Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth was a handicapped person, and he was a son of Yonasan. And the person who told David about Mephibosheth was a man called Tziva, or Tziva. So Tziva, that guy, Tziva was a slave of Mephibosheth, and he told David about the existence of Mephibosheth. And then David called Mephibosheth, and he came and he said, Mephibosheth, you are my best friend's son. I'll give you a field. It was a field belonging to Shaul, belonging to David, whatever. That field is going to be given to you, Mephibosheth, and I will feed you your entire life. You're a handicapped guy. Yeah, he couldn't walk properly. Yeah, he was lame. And David promised he promised Mephibosheth the field, and then also to be supported his entire life. And so it was. And then afterwards, David HaMelech was persecuted very harshly by Avshalom, his son Avshalom. Avshalom beats any of the derech kid, what he tried to do to his father, including killing him. So David really had to run away from Avshalom all over the country. And at some point, when David was, on the run, running from Avshalom, so Tziva, which was the Eved of Mephibosheth. By the way, Tziva was not some lowly slave. He wasn't picking cotton in Alabama. Tziva himself had 15 children and 20 avodim himself, or the other way around, 15 of this. He had a lot of children and a lot of slaves himself, 15 of this and 20 of that. And as when you read the Tanakh in the simple way, Tziva seems to be a bit of a kochel, as we'll see, about even an askan, a manipulative person. And what did he say? When David ran away from Avshalom, Tziva came with a donkey load full of good food and tzimukim and raisins and dates and wine and good stuff. And he told David, here I am and I support you, and here's the food for you as you are on the run. Some people were loyal to David, some weren't. And where's Mephibosheth? Where's Mephibosheth? He said, Mephibosheth is, says Tziva. He's sitting at home hoping you're going to lose the war and the Malchus will go back to Shaul and to him. That's what Tziva told David. And David believed the Lashon Hara of Tziva, that Mephibosheth didn't come to support him because he is really planning, hoping that David would lose. And therefore David said, oh really, is that the story? I have the field which I promised to Mephibosheth, I'm going to give to you. Third episode is when David, Baruch Hashem, finally came back to the throne and won the war against Avshalom. Then again, who came? Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth came and told David, David, there was a complete lie. This Tziva guy, that manipulator, I was home. I wanted to come and greet you. He didn't let me. I can't walk on my own. He basically abused my handicapped situation. Yeah, he abused me being who I was, and he did not let me go. And then there was a whole give and take, which we're going to see in Amud Beis. Now, who is to be believed, who is not to be believed? It's not so simple that Mephibosheth was a good guy either, as we'll see later. At the end of the day, the end of the story, David, again, superficially speaking, David didn't know what to do, so he said, okay, I'm going to split the field. Originally, he promised the field to Mephibosheth, then I believe Tziva, now you're telling me a different story. At the end of the day, let's go half-half, and I'll give you the field half to you, and half to Mephibosheth, and half to Tziva. This is just the synopsis of the whole story. Let's see how, from the holy, truthful perspective of Chazal, how do they view that story? So, Dichtiv, it says, Vayomer HaMelech, Eifahu? HaMelech David, King David, asked Tziva, where is he? Where is my best friend's son? Vayomer Tziva HaMelech, so Tziva told the king, Hinu Beis Mochir ben Amiel, he's in that place, Beis Mochir ben Amiel, Beloi Dovo. Chazal Darshan, Beloi Dovo means he's a nobody. Lo Davar, nothing. You know who this Mephibosheth is? Yonas Hassan? He's a Lo Davar, he's garnished. Okay, the Chsiv. Then what happened next? V'yishlach HaMelech, the king sent for him. V'yikacheu mi Beis Machir ben Amiel. They took him from where he lived in order to meet David. Meloi Davo, wow. And he spoke to him, and he saw that this Mephibosheth is maleh davar. He's full of things. In other words, he's full of Torah. He's a person full of ruchnis, of Torah. Basically, we see already that Tziva was a liar. Tziva, right from the start, was a manipulator lying to David. Continues the Gemara. Mich dichaze de shikro. David already saw one time that Tziva was a liar. So when he was malshin on him, when he snitched on him, when he told on him second time, when the second scenario with Avshalom, why did he accept the Lashon Hara again? It says in the episode of when he ran away from Avshalom, it says over there, the king told Tziva, Ayeh ben Adonecha, where is Ben Adonecha or Adonecha? Where's your master? Where's Mephibosheth? Where is he? Why isn't he not, I know he's handicapped, so you should ride on the donkey. Where is he? So Tziva told the Melech, you know what? King Yoshiyah, he's sitting in Yerushalayim. You know what he's doing in Yerushalayim? Look, Rashi is bringing the pasuk here. And he said, Hayom Yeshiva Mamlechas Ovi. He's sitting in Yerushalayim saying, great, I really hope David loses the war. So I'm going to go, I'm the grandson of the original king of Shaul, maybe I'll become king. And then what? And then he accepted. How do you know that David accepted the Lashon Hara the second time? It says, David outright told Tziva, here, is that what Mephibosheth did to me? Is that what he's planning? Is that his mindset against me? Everything I promised him, I'm going to give you, meaning the field will belong to you. Then Tziva was very grateful. I'm bowing down to you, and I will find grace in the eyes of the king. Okay, so according to Rav, there was a sin we asked before, a stira in Divrei Rav, but the Poshet Pshat is that according to Rav, there was an Avera on the side of David believing the Lashon Hara about Tziva. Believing the Lashon Hara being said by Tziva about Mephibosheth. And as we're going to see later, I'm just saying already now, that at the moment when he split the field, which was in the eyes of Rav is not the just thing to do, because the field did belong to Mephibosheth, because the field was split, because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu punished him, that the Mamlacha was also split. As we know, after David died, was Nifter, then the Mamlacha was split to two people, to Rechavam, Yerovam, which indirectly caused many years later the Churban Beis Hamikdash. Okay, good. Now let's see. That was the opinion of Rav. Shmuel Omar. Shmuel argues with Rav. Like David Lashon Hara. No, David wasn't so chas v'sholom, naive to just accept Lashon Hara. Zvarim and Ikarim chazabei. There were certain things in the behavior of Mephibosheth that really raised the suspicion of David. Mephibosheth wasn't such a tzaddik either. Dichtiv, it says, Mephibosheth ben Shaul yod lifnei hamelech. Mephibosheth, the son of Shaul, came down in front of the king. That's a third episode in the story, when Mephibosheth is now coming to greet David after David came out victorious against Avshalom. Then Mephibosheth came to the king, and how did it look like? He did not wash his feet. He did not arrange, his facial hair. He came with dirty clothes. He was dirty, and he came like that to the king, which can be interpreted in all kinds of different ways. And then it says, he came in Yerushalayim, greeting the king, towards the king. And Melech David asked Mephibosheth, let's try and figure things out. Why didn't you go with me, Mephibosheth? Now when I'm victorious, you're very nice to me. But when I was at times of need, where were you then? So then Mephibosheth replied, Adoni HaMelech, my master the king, what? Avdi Rimani, my slave lied to me. And let me explain before we continue, the fact that he was dirty and unkempt and not nicely done, it wasn't because of Sfiras HaOmer, it was because it can be interpreted as him not being so happy that David is back. He came to say hello, but couldn't to look a little bit more elegant to greet the king. He's coming now in a not looking so nicely. Maybe he's not so happy to see David, and that's why David is asking questions. But then Mephibosheth is replying. So, as we were saying, there was a little bit of a technical glitch. I'm sorry. We're hearing the story of Tziva and David HaMelech and Mephibosheth. Basically, Mephibosheth is greeting David now that David came back victorious from the war against Avshalom. And then Mephibosheth is answering David, you know why I didn't go to help you when you needed me? Well, simply, he says, Vayomer Adoni HaMelech, Avdi Rimani, my slave, Tziva, the manipulator, he cheated, he lied. Ki Omar Avdecha Echbash Aleyachamo Ve'erkavalea, your slave, which is me, he's saying to David, I wanted to saddle the donkey, Erkavalea, to ride in the donkey, Ve'eleches HaMelech, and I honestly wanted to really help you and say hello and help you with food, whatever, in your time of need. Ki Piseach Avdecha, you know that I'm handicapped, yeah, I'm lame, I can't walk, and therefore, and he abused that. Tziva, my helper, did not let me come with him to greet you. And Tziva, he was the one who said Lashon Hara about me to you, Adoni HaMelech. Adoni HaMelech kemalach Elokim. In my eyes, Adoni HaMelech, you're like an angel of Hashem. I admire you. Now do what you think is right. Do as you deem fit. So now Melech David answers Mephibosheth and says, why are you saying this? Soon we'll see why David says that. I said that Tziva, you and Tziva should split the field. In other words, that field was originally promised to Mephibosheth, the handicapped, Misken, son of Yonasan, the son of David's best friend. Eventually, because David partially accepted Lashon Hara on Mephibosheth, then he said that now Tziva will take the field and not Mephibosheth. And as we said, that was conditional by David. David wasn't so quick to accept the Lashon Hara, but David said, if I find out that what you're saying is true, you, Tziva, then you'll get the field. I'll take it from Mephibosheth, give it to you. Now the things are not so clear, then it's going to go, the field will go half on the field. But basically, he's taking half the field from Mephibosheth, the original owner, giving half to Tziva. Mephibosheth is now replying to the king, let him take everything. As long as you, Adoni HaMelech, you came peacefully, you came safe and sound to your house, back home, that's all I need. I don't care about the field. That seems to be the Pashut Pshat, the simple reading of the Novi. Now Chazal have a deeper drosha over here. Say Chazal, Omer Loi. Now Mephibosheth is saying to David, Ani amati Moshe Tova b'Sholem. I, all that time, I was sitting at home hoping you'll come back home in peace. You doing this to me? Yeah, Mephibosheth was very bitter about the fact that he was loyal to David all the time. Now if David is taking half the field because of Lashon Hara. I'm not angry with you. Wow. I'm angry with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. He says, I'm at odds with the one who brought you back home in peace. And that explains the following. That is what it says. Uben Yonason Meriv Baal. The son of Yonason, his name was Meriv Baal, the one who fights with the Baal, with the master. Meriv Baal Shmoy. Was his name Meriv Baal? Baal Mephibosheth Shmoy. The son of Yonason, Yonason's only son was Mephibosheth. So why is he called Meriv Baal? Because he had, so to speak, an argument to fight with Be'olov, with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, Yotz to Baskol, that's what's called Meriv Baal. Yotz to Baskol, Baskol came out and said, V'omoloi, Baskol told Mephibosheth, Natza bar Natza, you warmonger, son of warmonger. Natza Hodamoron. He is considered to be at war with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, as we explained. He's complaining to Hashem, why did David come back home in peace? I wish David died, now that David betrayed me. Baal Notzo, the son of another fighter, which was who? Shaul. Dichtiv, as it says, V'yovo Shaul ad ir Amalek v'yovo benachal. As we know, Shaul's sin was not fully eradicating, not finishing off with Amalek. And when the Nach describes that, it says Vayorev banachal. He was fighting in the Nachal. Nachal means also valley. Omar Rabbi Mani, says Rabbi Mani, why is the incident of Shaul not killing the entire Amalek called Nachal? Al Iske Nachal, which means Shaul HaMelech said to himself, I'll use my own logic against the Kodesh Baruch Hu. I'm being told to kill all of Amalek. Well, there is a place in the Torah, a parsha in the Torah where Nachal is mentioned, and that is the Egla Arufa. Egla Arufa, we know that if a person is found murdered, we don't know who did it, you take the Egla Arufa and you behead it in the Nachal in the valley. So then what? Well, he says it's a kal v'chomer. If one person makes such a big deal out of one person's death, all the more so, I wouldn't kill so many people and women and children. So he left some alone. The Agag himself, the king, he left him, and also the behemoths, the animals, because they didn't do anything wrong. So that was another fight with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So basically, Mephibosheth is continuing the bad ways of his grandfather Shaul, who had Kivyochol a meriva with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Amar Vida Amar Rav. So Vida says B'Shem Rav B'Shosh Omer David Mephibosheth. Now this is Rav, by the way. Let's just summarize Rav and Shmuel just to get it clear. Rav basically believes that David was completely wrong. David shouldn't have accepted Lashon Hara on Mephibosheth, right? And Mephibosheth did not do anything wrong. That's only Shmuel's opinion. And Mephibosheth was a good guy. David shouldn't have accepted Lashon Hara. Shmuel argues with Rav and says it's not so clear. Mephibosheth had his issues also, because Mephibosheth did not greet David nicely. He came to him very unkempt, very dirty. Even when he did come to say hello, it wasn't done the right way, and eventually he completely spoke against the Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's Shmuel. Back to Rav, that we say that he was a good man, Mephibosheth, and David just accepted Lashon Hara against him. And in light of that, says Rav, when he told Mephibosheth, you and Tziva will split the field, a Baskol came and told David, Mida keneged mida, measure for measure. You're splitting a field, you're taking half a field away from an innocent person, so too, half of the melucha, actually much more than a half, a big part of the melucha, of basically the kingdom, will be split between your son Rechavam, and Rosho Yerovam. So you're splitting, I'll split away. I'm going to divide the Melucha as a punishment to David. Amar Vid Amar Rav, another statement here of Rav. Ilmol lo kibel David lashon hara. If not for David accepting lashon hara, had David not have accepted lashon hara of Tziva and Mephibosheth, lo nechlaku malchus b'David. As we said before, the whole malchus, the kingdom, wouldn't have been split. What happened next when the malchus was split? There was a, sadly so, competition between Beis Hamikdash, which was on the hands of Rechavam, to Yerovam, who was working over the Zara. He said, don't go to Beis Hamikdash. I'm going to provide you here with two, unfortunately, statues of gold, of Egel Azav over the Zara, one in Dan and one in Beis El. If there wouldn't have been a split to begin with, Israel wouldn't have worshipped over the Zara. We wouldn't have the Golus, the bitter exile from our land. Can you imagine? Just because of Kabbalah's Lashon Hara, the entire Golus started because of accepting Lashon Hara the wrong way. Because of that, there was a split, there was a civil war, so to speak, a split, there was Golus over the Zara, everything happened because of accepting Lashon Hara. What a muster this should be for us. It's again the same Amoira again and again. Rab Shmuel ben Chmeni Omar Rabbi Yonason Kol Omer Shloimo Choto Eino Ela Toya. Whoever says that Shloimo sinned is just making one huge mistake. Again, Rashi says we're not saying that Shloimo never sinned. Rashi is just adding two words, B'avodah Zorah. Yeah. Rashi says Lechoto B'avodah Zorah. In other words, Shloimo may have other chotoim, as we'll see later, by marrying too many women. He had too many horses, but to say that he worshipped Avodah Zarah, that's wrong, although it's indicated that way in the Psukim, to say that Shlomo never really actually sinned with Avodah Zarah. Why? Shenema, because look what it says, right? His heart was not, completely there, wasn't whole, wasn't completely serving Hashem, Elokov kilvav David Aviv. Yeah, his heart was not with Hashem as much as David Aviv. What does that mean? How can we midayik infer from the pasuk? Kilvav David Aviv hudalohava. The pasuk says, he wasn't as great, as amazing as David, his father. But it doesn't sound like he was a sinner. As I said in the previous year, if I say about someone, he's not as good as Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal. If he's one level below Reb Chaim Kanievsky, that's very, very nice. So basically, we're saying that the person is a good person, just a little bit less than his father. Okay, good. But then comes a question. Ela, if so, mani mekayim va'il es zikna shloimo noshav yitas lavovoy. Yeah, but it does say, it says that as Shlomo was getting older, when Shlomo already aged, what happened? His wives, who were not exactly the biggest tzaddikas, Tzedekah says, Hitu Aslavava, they inclined, they sort of moved his heart in the wrong direction. So it looks like his heart was towards Avodah Zarah. And so, because that's what they were enticing him to do. They were inclining him, attracting him towards Avodah Zarah. So, answers the Gemara, no. Ha'iki Rabbi Nosson, that can be explained like Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Nosson Rami, Rabbi Nosson himself asks a question, Estira. Ksiv, it says regarding Shlomo, Va'il es zikna Shlomo, it says his wives completely were mate, were moving his heart, diverting his heart from the path of the derech. He's going to a different direction, like his wife started telling him. The aksiv, and on the other end it says kilvav David Aviv. It wasn't as good as David. Kilvav David Aviv udaloi hava michtana milochoto. He wasn't good as David, but he was otherwise not a sinner. So how do you reconcile that? Answers the Gemara, Hachika Omar. This is what the pasuk means. However, simple. His wife were convincing him to go the wrong way. It does mean that he was convinced. Yeah, if somebody tells you that he was convinced that his friends are convincing him to go to McDonald's, doesn't mean he did that. They are convincing me, they're working on me to do that. That's the story. They were trying to get David to worship Avodah Zarah, does not mean that he actually did that. However, that is not so simple. There's another question, Vaksiv. But it does say more explicitly, it says outright, As Yivne Shloimo Bomo. Shlomo built like a bama, like a mizbeach. Bama is a mizbeach outside Beis Hamikdash. Likmoish shikutz moyav. He built a special lolenu, a place of serving kamoish, which was the shikutz, the disgusting of a desire of moyav. So it looks like he built a mizbeach mamish for a desire. So he did follow their bad advice. Says the Gemara, no, shabikesh livnois v'loy bono. Yeah, yivne maybe loshen asid. He wanted to build, but he held himself back and he didn't. Frag the Gemara, are you telling me that Oz Yivne means wanted but didn't? El me'ata, according to that, Az Yivne Yoshua Mizbeach LaHashem. It says when Bnei Israel, when they arrived in Eretz Israel, they went to Har Grizim and Har Eval, that monumental moment of Grizim and Eval, and Yoshua built a Mizbeach over there. Are you going to tell me Shabikesh Livnes V'loy Bona? If Az Yivne means he wanted but didn't, so also the good Mizbech for Hashem by Yoshua the Tzaddik, are you going to tell me also there that he wanted but he didn't? We never heard that. Ela Dabana. As far as we know, Yoshua did build it. Ochanami Dabana, if so, fine. So by Shlomo also we must say they actually built the Mizbech, the bad one, to the Avodah Zarah. Ela, therefore we have a different shot. Now we're moving in the time machine, we're moving forwards to the time is Yoshiyah. We're going to discuss Yoshiyah later, not Yeshayahu, but Yoshiyah then Aleph. Yoshiyah was the almost the last king before the destruction, at the end of the Davidic dynasty. And Yoshiyah at some point was Chozer B'tshuva when he was 18, and he really decided to clean up Eretz Israel from any Avodah Zarah. Okay, not to leave a trace of the Zarah, that was a job of Yoshiyah HaMelech. But look what it says. It says over there regarding Yoshiyah. Rabbi Yossi Omer, V'esabamos asher al pnei Yerushalayim, the bomas all over Yerushalayim, asher miyamin Har HaMishcha, those that were to the right of Har HaMishcha, Har HaZeisim, which is also called in the Novi Har HaMashchis, because sadly Har HaMishcha, Har HaZeisim, at that time was full of Avodah Zarah. Like today, there are all kinds of worship houses there. So basically, Yoshiyah got rid of all these bomas. Asher bona Shlomo Melech Yisrael. Those idol centers which were created by Shlomo, la'ashteros shikut sidonim, all types of foreign idols built by Shlomo at the beginning, quite at the beginning of the Davidic dynasty. They were destroyed by Yoshiyah, which came towards the end of that. Frek the Gemara, Efshar ba oso v'lo biyarem, Yehoshaphat v'lo biyarem, ad sheba Yoshiyah biyarem, which means, are you telling me that any other king between Shlomo all the way to Yoshiyah, nobody ever eradicated those of the Zarahs? In other words, Asa, who was Asa, was also a king who destroyed all of the Zarahs. Yehoshaphat also, it says, and so those, and let's continue now, then we'll say, each and every idol worship, Bama, Asherah, anything, Asa v'Yehoshaphat biyarum. Asa and Yehoshaphat, they did away with all of the Zarahs in Eretz Yisrael, right? Obviously, the reason why it had to be done by Asa, then again Yehoshaphat, because of a Zarah, like mushroom after the rain, yeah, they grow, people unfortunately re-established over the Zarah. But conceptually, Asa v'Yehoshaphat did away with all of the Zarahs. So must be, they obviously already destroyed over the Zarah created by Shlomo. So what does that of the Zarah do still existing in the time of Yoshiyah, right? Something here doesn't work right. Ela must be, Makish Rishonim la'achronim. There's a concept here, we compare the first generation, Shlomo, to Achronim, to the generation of Yoshiyah, meaning, Ma Achronim lo osu v'tolu b'en l'shevach. Yoshiyah didn't destroy the Avodah Zarah of Shlomo because it didn't exist anymore. However, tolu b'en l'shevach, because Yoshiyah did destroy any new Avodah Zarah that existed in his times, but he would have done the one of Shlomo, we consider him, you know, Ena Maloch Nikras El Hashem Goimro, you know, he's the one who finished whatever he could, so it's considered as if he also finished off Shlomo HaMelech's Avodah Zarah. He did the whole job, so we also give him the credit as if he did away with the Avodah Zarahs of Shlomo. Afri Shoinim, so too the first ones, namely Shlomo loy osu. Shlomo also, just like Yoshiyah didn't destroy it, so to Shlomo didn't build it. The Taliban Lignai, however, the Novi is connecting it, is alleging it to Shlomo as if he built it, Lignai, yeah, in a way that is disgraceful for Shlomo. Yeah. Why is it considered as if he built it? That's a question which soon we're going to answer. The Gemara, meanwhile, is asking another question. Shlomo hara b'nei Hashem. Boom. It says clearly Shlomo did what was wrong in the eyes of Hashem. So why are you telling me that he didn't build Avodah Zarah, but somehow it's connected to him? He says he did wrong. Now we get to the punchline. Ella. Same concept again and again and again. Communal responsibility. He should have limchos benoshav. He should have protested, and he should have told off and told his wife to stop. His wife, don't do Avodah Zarah, darling, dear. No, stop it. And he did not stop. He did not protest. The Torah considers it, the Navi considers it as if he did it himself. If you're a silent partner to an Avera, it's as if you are actually committing the Avera. That's the message over here. And therefore it says, yes, Shlomo built and Shlomo did, and it was Shlomo's thing because it was under his malchus, done by his wives, and he kept quiet. And therefore it's considered as if he did it himself. That's the answer. So Shlomo did not worship Avodah Zarah ever. It was way beyond that. Shlomo Melech is the author of 3 Choshev Sfarim in Tanach. You know that in the Ksuvim. Elamai, he was quiet about his wives doing what they were doing, and that was wrong. Amar Vidam of Shmuel, another statement regarding the same idea. Noach loloiso tzaddik, that tzaddik Shlomo, it would have been Noach. It would have been better for him. Sheshamish ladover acher. It would have been better for him to be a shamish, meaning like a shamish. It would have been a better thing for him to actually be a servant, not worshipping Avodah Zarah, be a servant in the shrine of the Avodah Zarah for money. Some people need money, people are short for cash, and a person may get a job as the sexton or the cleaner of the base of Avodah Zarah, and he would clean and get the money. Is that good? No, you're not supposed to even enter base of Avodah Zarah, but it would have been better to do that than Hashem. It would have been even better for Shlomo to be serving as a cleaner in the base of Avodah Zarah for money than to do what he did, being silent with other people doing Avodah Zarah. Yeah, that would have been, as obviously both options are very bad, but out of the two, the lesser of the two evils is to be a shamish Avodah Zarah is not as bad as actually keeping quiet while your wife is actually worshipping Avodah Zarah. Now we are more again explaining where the source of the hate was Bas Paroi. When Shlomo married Bas Paroi, his main wife, she brought him 1,000 types of zemer. The Meforshim explained, just like he had 1,000 wives, she had 1,000 types of instruments or songs, 1,000 different, better than Spotify, yeah. She told him, Kach oisen of the Zohar ploinis, v'kach oisen of the Zohar ploinis. She kind of taught him academically, this song is for this Avodah Zarah, and that dance and instrument and this is for the other Avodah Zarah. He didn't stop her. He was watching on the side. He wasn't participating in those silly dances, but she did, and he didn't tell her anything, and that itself was bad enough. Here we enter another issue. The mere fact that he married Bas Paroi, who was not properly, obviously wasn't worshiping Hashem, was worshiping Avodah Zarah, that marriage as of itself was already a problem. The marriage with such a woman was already an issue, and therefore, when Shlomo married Bas Paroi, Yorad Gavriel, the Malach Gavriel, is the one who many times punishes people for Averos, is the harsh one. As we recently saw, he's the one who carried out the Churban. So Gavriel, the Malach of Din, came down from Shemayim, v'noatz kone bayam. He stuck a stick, like a reed in the sea, going this way. The olaboy silton, and eventually there was a silton, like earth was gathering, earth from the sea slowly formed around that kone, creating like a peninsula, half an island. The olive nivna krach godol shel roimi, and on that kone, on that piece of land, eventually the great city of Rome was built. So I saw a very nice pshat b'shem the Biala Rebbe, the one who was nifter a month ago. Maybe I'm not doing justice to what he said, but basically Rome is called Malchus HaRisho'ah. It's the only golus that are officially called the wicked Malchus, the wicked kingdom, and they have no reshus. They don't have any room to exist in this world. The only time Goyim can create such a vicious place like Rome is if we are going down. When Shlomo went down in Ruchnias by marrying such a person, there was like a seesaw. Then the one who all of a sudden got kochos from Sitra Achra was Dafka Rome, the Rishoim. The Masni Satana, it says in the Raisa, Oisayom Shichnis Yehovam Shnei Egloi Zohov. That's other piece of bad news, from that time. Yehovam, the competitor, so to speak, of Rechavam, which was the king of the 10 Shvatim, the 10 tribes, and he introduced 2 golden calves. Don't know the lesson, the golden calf. 2 of them, Echad beBeisel, Echad beDan, one in Beisel, one in the north, in Dan. So what happened when this horrible thing happened? How did the Kodesh Baruch Hu respond? Nivna tzrif echad. So then on that piece of land, on that strip of land, then the first tzrif is like a small house. Tzrif is like a hut, like a shack. A small house, the very, very first citizen of Rome, placed himself there. Already then, that was the very beginning, the first grain of the city of Rome. V'zeu Italia shel Yovan. This is Italy of Greece. This is very interesting. So basically, Italy, as we know, has a shape of like a reed into the sea. So that sounds very much like Gemara is saying. It has the shape of a boot. And I'll tell you something very, very interesting, which I didn't say yesterday, that I don't know how that works scientifically. This is obviously very spiritual. With a person I know in England, he was on a vacation in Italy, and there was a whole group of holiday makers in Italy in Pesach. It was Pesach time, and they went on a tour with a local tour guide, a non-Jewish woman, and she kept telling them as we're walking through nature in Italy, she said, "This is very new. This is very new." So that's what do you mean it's new? So she said, scientifically speaking, she's a professional tour guide. Italy is like the newest, practically the newest in, geologically, it's the newest place in Europe. In other words, according to the way she saw it, from what you learned in science, Italy was created after the rest of Europe. So this is interesting. Now we're going to look into another Tanach figure called Yoshiyah, which was mentioned before. So Yoshiyah basically became a melech when he was 8. He sat on the throne when he was 8. And then either when he was 18 or 18 years after he ruled, they found a Sefer Torah in Beis HaMikdash that was hidden there when Achaz, the Rosha, the king way before him, Achaz burnt the Sefer Torah. So they hid the Sefer Torah somewhere in Beis HaMikdash. They found it, they read the Sefer Torah, and Yoshiyah was very moved by that. In his childhood, he wasn't exposed to Sefer Torah, and now he decided to do tshuva, and he tore his clothes, and he cried. He saw how the Torah is rebuking Kodesh Baruch Hu. He found the truth, and he saw Hashem is telling him off. So then he really did tshuva of all the chatoim, and he eradicated, as we said, he really destroyed and cleaned up any trace of a Zara. Then they went to the Nevi'ah, the female prophet, the prophetess Hulda. And Hulda told them to tell him, listen, you're a great guy, you're really doing your best, and you're crying, and you're this. You will not experience yourself, you won't experience the destruction of Beis HaMikdash. But on the whole, it's too late. It's too late. The Gzera, Nigzera HaGzera. Already the decree was made, and Beis HaMikdash will be destroyed, the Golus will happen. Your tshuva process is amazing, but it's too late. And therefore you will be saved. Yeah, you saved your skin, but your children, there'll be a different story. Then came Tzidkiyahu. Tzidkiyahu was a whole different story. There was already the Golus, and the Nebuchadnezzar came. Now, it does say that Yoshiyah did tshuva. However, Did tshuva means he sinned and then tshuva. You can't do tshuva if you never sinned. So again, if you think Yoshiyahu ever sinned, really, he's just making a mistake. It says, he always did the right thing. Like David HaMelech, he followed the path of David HaMelech, his great-great-great-great-grandfather, and he did what's right in the eyes of Hashem. If so, how to explain the pasuk? It says there was no Baal Tshuva as great as Yoshiyahu. So what? So he did do tshuva. So in other words, what was the story in this Sefer Torah? Did he do everything wrong and then the Sefer Torah told him the truth? Or was he doing everything right and there were certain points in the Sefer Torah which were chiddush for him? Answers the Gemara, Shekol din shedan ibn shmoina ad shmonesre echziran lahen. Which means he realized that in Dinei Mominus and Choshen Mishpat, as a melech, he was also a dayan. He was a judge. So he realized after reading the Sefer Torah that a lot of things he did were in the court as a dayan, as a judge, were wrong. So all the dinim that he actually, all the verdicts, that he applied till the age of 18, he revoked them. He called the people back. He called the litigants back to Beis Din and told them, "No, I'm sorry, mister. That din was before I was learned it enough. Now I know better, and now I'm going to tell you, Reuven, you got the 1,000 zuz. Give the 1,000 zuz back to Shimon." By the way, from here, there's one source that says Ad Shmonesre. It's not that he didn't know anything, but he realized that a dayan should not be a dayan before he's 18. There's a machloikas whether a boy, it's in Shulchan Aruch, whether a boy between 13 and 18, you have a child, a goen, child prodigy, he can be a dayan at the age of 13. But, I mean, he has the knowledge, but can he be a dayan, or do you have to wait until he's 18? Yeah, you know, like a driver's license in certain countries, 18. Yeah, it's below 18, you are a minor, you can't be a dayan. So according to this, he was just too young. So he said, listen, everything I did before was wrong, or at least it has to be checked again. Shema Toimar continues the Gemara, not on Mizeh and Osan Lezeh. Is it like I told you before, Reuven originally gained $1,000 and now he's saying, Reuven, give it back to Shimon from your own pocket? No, it's also wrong because the din was already done deal. Talmud Loimar bechol me'oidoi. It says he returned to Hashem bechol me'oidoi. We know what's bechol me'oidecha, with all your money. Shenosan lehem mishaloi. Very good. He gave them from his own money. Those people that were wronged by the first system of din, he gave them mishaloi. He gave them from his own pocket to compensate them for what they lost from before he was 18. The Pliga de Rav, however, that opinion argues with Rav. The Omar Rav, en lechagodu b'Baal Tshuva Yosef Yoshiyahu b'doiroi. No, the greatest Baal Tshuva ever was Yoshiyahu. Yoshiyahu did sin, and he became Baal Tshuva. The Echad B'Doreinu. There's another amazing Baal Tshuva in our generation. Umanu, who is it? Abba, Avua del Birmia bar Abba. Abba, the father of Birmia. I don't know what repeats and says bar Abba. Clearly, it was bar Abba. Yeah. Abba, the father of Birmia, he's Baal Tshuva. The Amrila, some say Acha, a person called Acha, Achua, the Abba, Avua del Birmia bar Abba. The brother of that Acha, uncle of Birmia. Domar Mar, because Mar says Rabbi Abba, the Acha Achi Havu. Rabbi Abba and Acha were brothers. Either Rabbi Abba or Acha, one of them was the greatest Baal Tshuva of the generations of the Ameroim. Amar of Yosef. Rav Yosef is adding the Oid Echad B'Doreinu. There's another unbelievable Baal Tshuva in our generation. Umanu, who is it? What's his name? Ukvan bar Nechemia Reish Galusa. Reish Galusa Ukvan bar Nechemia. According to another version, in a different place, he's Mar Ukva, and that Baal Tshuva, v'hainu Noson de Tzutzisa. His name was Noson of the sparks, of the fire. What does it mean? Rashi says, Nitzotzin denura. In other words, we're going to see soon that he was accepted by a Malach. The Malach held him, and that's why he had all this light from the Malach coming above his head. Or the Malach Tzutza means like the tzitz is the tuft of hair. The Malach held him by the curl of his hair. What was the story of Nasan Tzutzisa? We're going to say soon. Amar Yosef, Havi Yasivna Bepirka Vavaka Minamnema. Rav Yosef says, I was sitting in Shiur and I was dozing off a bit. I saw in my dream, as I was dozing off, I was, daydreaming a little bit. I saw a dream that a Malach came and accepted Nasan Tzutzisa as a Baal Tshuva. So there's very interesting Rashi in a different place. Rashi says that in Sanhedrin Lamed Aleph, that this is Mar Ukva. Mar Ukva was a person in charge of tzedakah, and he all of a sudden basically was attracted to a married woman, and really he got lovesick over her, but he held himself back. And he didn't do anything, but I guess she knew that he wanted her, but he was holding himself very chazak. Then one time she needed money. She needed money from him, so she said, listen, I need money and I'll do whatever you want. So there was a very, very big nisayon, and he didn't do anything. No, he did not follow her temptation. And then there was real tshuva. He completely cleaned himself from any thoughts about her. And then when he went out to the street, he would have like a candle. You could see like mamish candle, a flame over his head to show what amazing Baal Tshuva he was. Thank you so much. Thank you for those who watch us on Torah Anytime, and this particular shir will also be in YouTube, and this one will be in Torah Anytime. Hatzlacha, thank you. Have a good Shabbos. Thank you very much. Hatzlacha uvracha. Thank you.